Hi, I decided to do something different today for my Substack rather than post the article that I was working on COP30 that I've written three different versions, cut and pasted, I was just not happy with it. And one of the reasons is because I felt like I should write it because it was an important, well, actually it wasn't, but these global gatherings and then, proclamations and they come up with a product. I don't have a lot of hope for them as far as making any real substantive change. And the only thing, as far as I can see, that came out of it was what was interesting to me was the protests and the the large presence of Indigenous peoples, and also the symbolic fire that forced evacuation of participants, which seemed to be pretty like Earth seemed to be having a voice too. Um, and that's basically it, as far as I'm concerned. And so I decided instead, after being frustrated to the point where I just don't even want to work on that little essay anymore, I decided I was going to do a video experiment and talk about one of my perfumes. Um, as you know, if you've been following my work, I am I've started some magic of scent Zoom circles, and inspired by Guardian's anointing oil and the responses that I've gotten to it from people all over the country who have experienced it. And I realize that these anointing oils, scents, have an incredible power to help us reawaken our not only our physical senses, but they do because we become aware of the relationship between what we're smelling and what we're feeling and how we're perceiving things, and there is a connection there. And that's what I want to be working with, and understanding and communicating and telling the stories of, so that we all can tell our stories. And some of these stories are involve, non-humans. Some of our stories involve memories from the past. Some of them can be heartbreaking, and but they're part of who we are. And as we hone our physical senses, become more aware of our physical senses, I believe that this will help awaken our intuitive senses, because we have inner ears, we have inner vision. We intuit things. We pick up vibrations through just the hairs on our skin, pick up vibrations, and sense. If we were a wild animal, we would rely on all the nuances of every scent that we breathe when we take a breath, because it would be our survival. It could mean our survival, whether it's an enemy nearby or the source of food or water that we might need. And humans, we have, there's, we have, our senses have atrophied for lack of use. And even if we have wonderful senses, they can be honed even more. Um, and activating and becoming more attuned to one of our senses also helps us become activated and more attuned with our other senses as well. And I know this because people have told me this. And that's the thing, when I hear the experiences that people have, when they, especially with the anointing oils, but sometimes with the perfumes as well, I realize that my intuitive knowing around the importance of scent is actually a reality. And so I decided that one of the things I want to do over the course of the winter, as I am healing from hip replacement surgery and preparing circles and workshops where I will be both doing on Zoom and in person when I visit people, which I will be doing this summer. I want to tell the stories in the meantime, to create a foundation for the work that's coming. And the first perfume that I grabbed in the context of this was Monarda. And I didn't do it consciously, but Monarda is actually one of the perfumes that was inspired and created with a plant that I grew in my garden, bee balm. And this relationship with bee balm started way before I was making perfumes. Bee balm is one of the plants that literally shouted at me when I was living in Freiburg one summer when it was doing nothing but raining. The whole June, I'm sorry, I'm just checking the time. I don't want this to be too long. And so anyway, I was miserable, and I was going out in the garden every day and pulling off the rotted leaves and buds that would never open, and feeling pretty down and pretty disgusted with things. And I heard this, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I'm standing in front of the bee balm, a big clump of it. It's in other places in the garden too, but this particular clump is like right there, and I'm standing right in front of it. It's up to my chest, and it's literally glowing as if the sun is shining on it, and there's no sun coming out right now at all. It's daylight, and that's about it. But the bee balm told me that what I was feeling was what I was feeling. That the bee balm and the other plants in the garden, as well as the insects, the bees, all of it, they were accepting. They live in the moment. They weren't suffering any more than they would be suffering if the sun was out. They would be basking in the sun as the bee balm was basking in the rain, and there was no judgment. I was the one with the judgment. I was the one that was suffering. And the bee balm made that perfectly clear, that it was inappropriate for me to be putting my human emotions on the plants and the herbs in the garden. And so it was an important lesson. And it was certainly dramatic. So anyway, I've had this relationship with bee balm for many years, and so it felt natural for me to take some of those beautiful, voluptuous blooms, dry them, and turn them into a perfume tincture, and then turn that perfume tincture into the main ingredient in the perfume called Monarda, which is, a deeply floral, sweet, but not too sweet perfume, with a heart that is just both herby and spicy and floral, and it's held into place with mosses and resins, and then lightened with the top notes of spice and citrus. And it's one of those fragrances that younger women tend to gravitate towards because it's lighter and it's a floral. And this is the final product. And the heart, what was interesting about Monarda is when I created the heart, which is the story of the perfume, and that's what I worked on first, I created 5 different versions of it. And I couldn't decide. I liked each one for a different reason. And there were some that I liked more than others, but I still couldn't make my decision because, of course, whatever I chose was still going to have the base and the top note, created for it. So I was planning a trip to Freiburg, and I decided I was going to do a perfume party, and part of that was going to be asking my friends for their opinions on the 5 different versions that I had created, to rank them, and if there was one that clearly stood out for them, obviously what it was and why. And so it was fun, and it was really good. And it helped a lot. And so the heart of this perfume was kind of a community project. And the people, and I did send some to the people my friends who were there that night and who helped give me their opinions. And so, and then it was up to me to create the base and the top, which I did. And the final product is in the shop. And I will be offering it at a discount, and I will put a coupon code into the word part of the Substack. And so I hope that sharing this little story about Monarda was interesting. And what I found interesting for me when I revisited the story, when it all came back to me, when I took a whiff of the tincture a couple of days ago when I was doing this, is that the story of Monarda is still happening. I felt really emotional when I smelled the tincture and the perfume because of the whole process. It just came back to me. And all the perfumes that I make are very personal in that way. The anointing oils, however, those are way more intentional in the sense of spirit, and I'm also opening myself up to um, not just what's in my heart to offer, but what Earth wants me to offer. And in the case of Guardians, it was the trees, and it was so obvious to me. And they were so present when I was deciding and making choices as to what ingredients I was going to be using. And and being able to do that was such a gift. And offering it, what basically turned into being a sliding scale, was another gift, that whole process. So I'm finding that the process of anointing oils, all the way from how they're given to me and the creation of them and the relationship that other people, so far it's been mostly women, but other people have with them, and how they can be tools that we can use so that we can maintain our groundedness and our center and our awareness of why we're here, so that we can, when we get caught up in the craziness of what's happening, we can take a little vial of something that smells wonderful, that we know is going to connect us, right? And there we're going to be, right? And if we allow that shift that we feel immediately to maintain itself, then, you know, our mood is changed. And then we can go about our day and we can share some peace and some joy. And that makes the world better, right? It's important that we do that. And so that for me is enough for today. I hope you enjoyed this.